Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to day 4 of official Battlebond previews. We're going to recap all the cards that were previewed over the last 24 hours, as we always do. A lot of amazing cards in this set, some fantastic reprints continue to pour out. Now, quickly before we get started though, just a really fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to help support what we do here at the channel. Our Patreon page is linked down there. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon. If you make any purchases on Amazon, actually no matter what it is, once you go through that link, we'll get a small percentage for the channel. And finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully you can save some cash while you support us. As always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all the viewers. Y'all make the channel what it is. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Blaring Recruiter and Blaring Captain. Okay, let's look at the Recruiter first. This costs a white and 3. It's an Elf Warrior. These are both uncommons, 2/2. Partners with Blaring Captain. White and 2, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token. Blaring Captain. Black and 3, Azra Warrior, 2/2. Partners with Blaring Recruiter. Whenever this attacks, attacking warriors get +1/+1 till end of turn. Wow, okay. Let's talk about limited first. Now, all week we've been looking at warriors and cards that work well with warriors. Now, many of them fall under Rakdos colors, as you might expect, but this set has done something smart. They have warriors and warrior synergy cards in all 5 colors. So that makes sense in this two-headed giant limited environment, because if I play the Rakdos warrior deck, my partner most likely would be on something completely different. Maybe they're in Selesnya colors, but some of their cards may also contribute to my game plan. I think that is a very, very smart design for this particular set. Now, these cards in particular are very good. I mean, look at Blaring Recruiter first. 2/2 for 4. Now, granted, that sounds expensive. However, it does also tutor the other card. Whether they're both in your deck or one's in yours and one's in your partner's, it doesn't matter. Once it's on the battlefield, you got this 2/2 Warrior, which definitely will have synergies with other cards that exist. And you have an awesome mana sink that's actually not that expensive. A white and 2 for a 1/1 white warrior token is kind of awesome. Now, the Captain, same thing, 2/2 for 4, but you're tutoring for the Recruiter. And now whenever this attacks other warriors that are attacking at +1/+1 till end of turn, that could be a huge play under the right circumstances, especially with the Recruiter. Unfortunately for you Commander players, these are not legendary, so they can't be co-commanders together. But they can maybe work into a warrior build. So you might say to yourself, well, the white card, the Recruiter, might be hard to work into a lot of those builds. Well, we got you covered. In a few moments, we're going to look at a card that is going to fix any color issues you might have when you're trying to build a warrior commander deck. Brightling. This one's a mythic. 2 white and 1. It's a shapeshifter 3/3. Pay a white. It will get vigilance or lifelink, or you can return it to its owner's hands. Pay 1 generic mana, +1/-1, or -1/+1 till end of turn. Okay, obviously this is a take on Morphling. This is the 4th one of these cards we've seen. We're actually only missing the black one to get a complete cycle. Now, in Limited, this thing is going to be off the wall. I mean, it's mythic, you won't see it a lot, but if you do open it, you're going to be having a pretty good day. First off, the stats 3/3 for 3 are excellent, and then all that versatility you get on top of it. Give this vigilance if you're worried about having a blocker later on, but you still want to attack. The lifelink will be extremely relevant. You can bounce it if it's in danger. Or if it does get by, you can pump the power a little bit. If you need to be more defensive, pump the defense. This thing is really, really difficult to deal with and can probably win some games, no doubt, if it does show up in one of your packs. Commander, yeah, it's a fun card there. I don't think it necessarily needs a theme or anything. It's just a solid creature. I kind of wonder if this might see some legacy play, maybe in like a Death and Taxes build or something like that. Might be worth at least trying out. The 3 casting cost for a 3/3, I don't know if maybe that's not good enough considering Lightning Bolt and all exists. But you can also pump the toughness on the fly, which is kind of interesting as long as you have the mana to do it. I don't know. I think it might be worth testing if nothing else. Arcane Artisan. This is another mythic. Blue and 2, Human Wizard 0/3. Blue 2 and tap. Target player draws a card, then exiles a card from their hand. If a creature card is exiled this way, that player creates a token that's a copy of that card. When Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, exile all tokens created with it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, a lot going on here too. Now let's talk about Limited first. I think it's a really fine card. Looting is always good. This is quasi-looting. The cards aren't going to your graveyard, they're being exiled. That might matter. But you get the added bonus that if you throw away a creature, you get the token copy of that creature, which is kind of cool. The problem being tokens can be susceptible to bounce effects and can be a little fragile on their own. And this card itself, considering there's cards like Chain Lightning within the set, could be fragile as well, and that makes the tokens even more vulnerable because if this 0/3 dies, you lose them too. So there's a little risk versus reward here, but not enough to stop me from playing it in Limited. I also like the fact that you can target any player, so I can help my partner out by targeting them sometimes too. You could target opponents, although I can't really think of a good reason to do that, just because I don't want my opponent working their way through their deck with a loot type effect. I don't really think that's ever going to be helpful. There might be an extreme case here or there, but for the most part, it's not something I'm going to plan on doing. Commander, I might consider playing this, especially if I have some creatures with good enters and leaves the battlefield effects, so that I know that even if something happens to this pretty quickly, I might still get some value from it. This might work well in a Anala build, for example. Aside from that, would I play this in Legacy, maybe with Grizzlebrand, Emrakul? Probably not. I just think there's more streamlined ways to do that right now with show and tell and such. This is just too fragile, I think, for that environment with all the lightning bolts flying around and such. Fumble. It's a 2/1, instant, uncommon. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Gain control of all auras and equipment that were attached to it, then attach them to another creature. Wow, okay. So this would have been good if it was 2/1, bounce a creature. Because I like those type of cards. They're versatile. I can bounce my stuff or my partner's stuff to protect it, or I can tempo my opponent's. But this takes it a step further. I mean, gaining control of auras that were on the creature, or the equipment on the creature, or both sometimes, that is kind of crazy. And you have to be cognizant, if you're playing Limited, that this card is out there at uncommon. So if you're thinking about playing auras or equipment, you have to be prepared to deal with something like this, and that's kind of scary. So this makes me really weary to play auras and equipment in Limited, honestly. This could be a lot of fun in Commander too, by the way. Spellweaver Duo. This costs a blue and 6. It's a human wizard common. 4/4 assist. When this enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature to its owner's hand. Alright, nothing crazy here. It is a common. I kind of wish it was any creature, not tapped creature, for that casting cost. Even with the assist, I feel like that would have been fair in this set. This is a very powerful set, and this card feels a little nerfed to me. Now, on turn 4, maybe I can put this down. I pay 4, my partner will pay 3. That most likely would be our turn in that case. But we get a 4/4, and maybe we bounce one of our opponent's creatures and tempo them a little bit. It's not the worst thing in the world. In this set, you might have better things and it might not make your cut, but I don't think it's that bad. And sometimes you might be able to bounce one of your own creatures if they have a good enters the battlefield effect or something, so you might be able to get a more powerful effect later in the game. Cindersplit's Judgment. 2/4, sorcery rare. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend creates a token that's a copy of a creature they control. Each foe returns a creature they control to its owner's hands. Okay. So these friend or foe cards in Limited are going to be very powerful. Some are probably better than others, sure. But this one's going to be great. As long as you're not really far behind and don't have creatures to copy or something, you're going to be really happy to get this. Copy your best creature, your partner copies their best creature, and your two opponents have to each bounce a creature. That is a huge swing and could even be game-ending under the right circumstances. Sure, the foes choose what goes back to their hands, so that part of the spell might be better sometimes than other times, but for 5 mana, this still feels really good to me. Outside of that, do you play this in Commander? Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun there too. It's another good political card. We've been seeing a lot of that this week. And also, in a Pillow Fort deck, maybe I just let all my opponents go ahead and make creatures that they have to attack each other with, and just kind of watch what happens. That could be fun too. Bloodborne Scoundrels, a black and 5 Vampire Rogue, common 4/4 assist. When this enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Again, not super thrilling here. This one's a little cheaper than the blue assist card we looked at a few moments ago. You could play this maybe on turn 3 and get a 4/4. 3 from me and 3 mana from my partner. That's not too bad, and you get the drain life thing too. So, yeah, it's definitely runnable, but again, this is a powerful set. Maybe it doesn't always make your cut. Thrilling Encore. This is a black and 4 instant rare put onto the battlefield under your control. All creature cards and all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Welcome to the winning team. Wow, okay. A couple days ago, we saw the card Last One Standing, which has the same goblin in its art that you see in this card. And if you have this and Last One Standing, for 8 mana, you are just sweeping the board and just taking all of those creatures for yourself. That's kind of crazy in a game of Two-Headed Giant, no doubt. Granted, they are both rares that will not happen very often, but if it ever does, it will make for a great story, if nothing else. Aside from that, it's still a good card just as a value play. Just by playing regular Magic, some creatures die, maybe some of yours, some of the opponents, whatever, and you just bring a couple back for 5 mana, and that's going to be fantastic value for you. Commander, I feel like this is an auto-include in like all black Commander decks from this day forward, especially if you're running board sweeps, right? This could be huge in the format. This is going to be a highly, highly sought-after rare. Bonus round. 2 red and 1 sorcery rare. Until end of turn, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, that player copies it and may choose new targets for the copy. So for 3 mana, everything else that is played that turn gets forked. So when it comes to instants and sorceries, that feels like it could be good in the right decks in Limited. Like, this isn't for every build, but if you have enough instant and sorcery cards in your deck and your partner's deck, then yeah, this becomes runnable. Let's say on an average turn you play this and maybe play like a Chain Lightning or something, and then your opponent is able to play like a removal spell, and you could take out potentially like 4 things or something like that. It could be a big swing. But if your decks aren't really set up to do that, I wouldn't try to force it either. In Commander, this would be good in decks that are more instant and sorcery focused, but you do have to remember this does count for everybody, and it impacts instants. So you could get burned by this too if someone has some good instants in their hand and they could fork them back at you. That could get kind of crazy as well. So it is playable there, but you definitely want the right deck and maybe a little protection in the form of counter magic or something like that to go behind this. What about Legacy, Burn, or Storm? I don't know. 3 casting cost feels a little expensive. I'd at least want to test it maybe, but it does open you up again to maybe someone casting some instants on the other side of the table that you don't want them to cast. Also, when it comes to Storm, this doesn't cantrip. It also doesn't give you any additional mana. Granted, it could lead to some big plays and would require some testing to see if it's economical enough, but that deck is also pretty streamlined right now. Corvus Fury, another friend or foe card here. This is a red and 4 sorcery rare. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend discards all cards from their hand, then draws that many cards plus 1. Corvus Fury deals damage to each foe equal to the number of cards in their hand. This one doesn't feel as powerful as some of the others, but again, in Limited, this will be fantastic. Being able to cycle through your deck faster when the time comes. Maybe later in the game, if you're in a board stall, hold on to some lands, and you and your partner can use this later to refresh. That could be good. At the same time, doing a little direct damage to your opponents. Later in the game, might not be a lot of damage. They might be only holding on to like 1 or 2 cards or something each, but still, something's better than nothing. In Commander, it's another political card. You can kind of say, hey, who wants a new hand? And help some people out, try to befriend them a little bit, and play that politic card. It also can do damage, especially if someone's holding a lot of cards. Maybe they have Spellbook in play or something like that. So definitely runnable, but maybe not as strong as some of the others we've seen. Also, there are things in Commander that do punish your opponents for drawing cards, like Nekusar, for example. Najila the Blade Blossom. Red 2, legendary creature, human warrior. This one's a mythic, 3/2. Whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. Pay a mana of every color, untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Activate this ability only during combat. Alright, let's talk about Limited first. This card is mythic. You're not going to see it all the time. But if you see it, it's going to be really, really good for you. Do you have warriors in your deck? Does your partner have warriors in their deck? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, you're going to want to run this card. As a matter of fact, this is not a bad card, even if you had no warriors in either of your decks, because it's still a 3/2 for 3 that attacks in with another 1/1 white creature token that it creates at the same time. So that's actually kind of awesome too, especially if you're ahead a little bit. Now, that second ability is going to be tough to pull off, obviously, in Limited, considering it's 1 of each color mana. That's a little bit awkward, unfortunately, but if you do somehow have a deck that can pull it off, well, wonderful. I mean, it could be game-winning under the right circumstances, but it might be hard to do. Also, you'll want to know, it says whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create the token. So it doesn't have to be your stuff attacking. Obviously, that makes sense for Two-Headed Giant with your partner. But when you go into the world of Commander, you do have the choice of giving other people those tokens if you wanted to. Now, also when you're a Commander, that second ability could become a lot more relevant. Here's what I really like about this, though. You've been seeing all these new warriors all week in all different colors. You've been thinking to yourself, how can I build a Commander deck out of these? Who's going to be my Commander? Well, I'd like you to meet her. She has 5-color identity, which means all the warriors we've seen all week, they can fit into a deck with her as commander. That's kind of awesome. I think this is going to be a highly, highly sought-after card for commander players. Combo attack, green and 2, sorcery common, 2 target creatures your team controls, each deal damage equal to their power 2 target creature. Good way to deal with a big creature, and green doesn't have a lot of straightforward removal typically, so this will be good. This isn't even fight, this is just deal the damage, and you use your creatures in tandem with your partner's creatures. Totally makes sense in this environment. Very good card. You'll be happy to run this, and at common you should be able to find them. Grothama, All Devouring, another mythic. This is 2 green and 3, legendary creature worm, 10/8. Other creatures have. Whenever this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothama, All Devouring. When Grothama leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of damage dealt to Grothama this turn by sources they control. Alright, this is an odd one. It's big and only costs 5, I guess that's the upside. However, it doesn't have evasion, and that's a problem for me, and it also creates this opportunity for maybe my opponents to draw cards. Now, granted, I could get in on that too. There's ways to maybe destroy the creature myself, I suppose. But I don't know, that feels like a lot of work to draw cards, and drawing cards is really good, but how many cards is that going to cost you to draw, and are you actually coming out ahead is the question. Probably most of the time not, if that's your plan. So generally, the idea behind this card is play this 10/8 thing on turn 5 and hope for the best. I don't know, sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it just might not. And I don't want a situation where my opponents end up drawing cards because of this. Especially in Two-Headed Giant, where I'm really going up against 2 sets of creatures. This doesn't feel really good to me, and I honestly don't know if I would play this, which is saying something considering it's a mythic. I just feel like it's too risky, quite honestly, in most cases. Now, aside from that, Commander, yeah, this is really weird in Commander. It's just going to have a big target on it. Like, you play this, and people are going to be like, how can I draw cards? Well, let me see. I'll attack with this and fight, and I lost a few creatures. Someone else will hit it with a lightning bolt, so they can get in on it. It just doesn't really feel like it's going to be around very long. And again, like I said, setting up some sort of elaborate play to draw cards off this doesn't feel like it's going to be easy to make economical either. So, I don't know. This one feels a little odd to me. Archon of Valor's Reach. This is a white and green 4 Archon creature. It is a rare 5/6 flying, vigilance, trample. When this enters the battlefield, choose artifact, enchantment, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker. Players can't cast spells of the chosen type. Wow, okay. So this is interesting. It's not a legendary creature. It almost feels legendary at first, but it is not. It can't be your commander. But it's a good creature. Definitely in limited, I will play this all day long. I mean, even the stats, 5/6 for 6, flying, vigilance, trample, that's fantastic. And aside from that, the ability to maybe shut down something that could hurt this creature. Maybe instants or sorceries, for example, depending on what colors your opponents are playing. So that could be just one way to go, where you end up with a big flying creature and your opponents get stuck and can't deal with it. Now, outside of the limited game, maybe in Commander, you could play this with like Helm of the Host and try to make copies and shut down a lot of different avenues for your opponents. And if you're creature-centric, maybe kind of reap the benefits from that. Could be interesting. But overall, this is a very solid creature. Ezra Oddsmaker. This is a red, black, and 1. Ezra Warrior, so another warrior. Uncommon 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. If you do, choose a creature. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw 2 cards. This is okay in one hand because it's a 3/3 warrior for 3, which will be very relevant and limited. I don't like the fact, though, that I have to pitch the card. Unless there's a reason I want to discard a card, then maybe it works out for me. But I have to pitch the card, then choose what card is the one that has to get across for damage. And if my opponent can kind of stop that from happening somehow, even if it has evasion, maybe they have a removal spell, then I just pitched a card for no reason. Yikes, okay. I can still see myself playing this, though, unlimited, again, because of the other upsides. It's a sizable creature for 3, and it is a warrior. There's tons of synergies there. It's also in the Rakdos colors, which makes sense for warriors. So it will see play, no doubt. And there are times where that ability will be good, I'm sure. But every once in a while, it's going to bite you. Just keep that in mind. Sentinel Tower. Alright, this costs 4. It's an artifact. Rare. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell is cast during your turn, this will deal damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells cast before that spell this turn. So in other words, if I play 1 instant or sorcery on my turn, it's going to do 1 damage to any target. The second one is going to do 2 damage, so on and so forth. If you're in a Two-Headed Giant game, well, this is good because I can play my own instants of sorceries. My partner can do the same, and they could really add up. There's a couple problems here, though. One of which, you have to have some decks that are really tailored to this, or you're going to want to skip it. Because if you don't have the instants and sorceries to back this up, this just becomes a dead card for the most part. Now, the good news is, compared to 1v1, I feel a little bit better about playing a card that costs 4 and does nothing on its own when it enters the battlefield. Because at least if I do that, my partner might still have a creature or something to expand our board state that turn. And then later on, you have some potential for big plays if you have instants and sorceries. I play 1 damage to something, my partner plays 1, now it's 2 more damage. Total of 3 free damage, basically. Could take out a 3 toughness creature, could hit our opponents. The flexibility's nice. Here's the problem, though, beyond that, is even though this is only effective on our turn, so sorceries won't be a consideration. If our opponents have instants, they could come out with an instant and do free damage to our stuff or to us. So you are opening yourself up to potential risk with this card as well, and you have to ask yourself, is that worth it? Again, if you're not really heavy into instants and sorceries, I would not probably bother with this one. In Commander, I don't think it's amazing either, but if I'm running a Storm deck that has Aetherflux Reservoir, well, maybe this is an okay backup. Victory Chimes. Cost 3, it's an artifact, rare. Untap Victory Chimes during each other player's untap step. Tap a player of your choice, adds a colorless mana. You can look at this one of two ways. First off, I can gift mana, so in Two-Headed Giant, that makes sense for my partner. Secondly, it untaps on my opponent's turns as well, so I'm able to maybe get some extra mana if I want to hold back control magic, like destroy spells or counters or something. That's kind of interesting for 3 mana, but again, I don't know if that makes every build. If I have a lot of instants, I might consider it. Or if I'm concerned about maybe what my partner's running in their deck, and I think that they might need some mana help at some point, considering they have a heavy curve or something, okay, maybe I run it. On its own, in a vacuum, I don't think it's anything super impressive, though. Same thing in Commander. Like, it is very runnable. It's an interesting mana rock. It's colorless, so okay. I mean, there's a lot of better mana rocks, probably. But I do like that this always untaps. And again, you can play politics with this card. Could be fun. All right, let's move on to crazy reprints with Angelic Chorus. This has been printed a couple times now, but it's still going to run you $4 to $6, and it's a very good Commander card, so another welcome reprint. It is at rare. Mangara of Corondor. This is from Time Spiral. It's never been reprinted. It's about a $3 card. It has seen some legacy play, sometimes in Death and Taxes because of its interaction with Caracas. But aside from that, this will be a great limited card. It is a rare, so you won't see it that often, and it's a little slow and fragile. A 1/1 for 3, it doesn't have haste, so you have to wait till it gets back to your turn to use that ability, but it is a great ability. Exiling this in any permanent is pretty awesome. Now, it will have a target on it, and it could die before that happens, but you know what? If you're making your opponents waste a removal spell on this to protect something that's more important to them, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world either. Overall, another good reprint. Tandem Tactics. This is a reprint, here more for the limited game and probably for flavor more than anything, but being able to use this on up to 2 creatures, which of course could include your partner's creatures, just makes sense. Mystic Confluence, nice reprint. Originally from Commander 2015, those will run you about $10. This is another really big Commander staple. And there was a Judge promo in foil, but those will run you about $20. So here's another opportunity to get this card in foil. Spell Snare, another high value uncommon in the set. It's been a long time since this has been reprinted too. Last time was the first Modern Masters. This is a $5-6 uncommon, really welcome reprint here. Sees extensive Modern play and also Legacy and Vintage a little bit too. And it might not always be great for you in the limited game considering you don't have sideboarding opportunities here, but I'm still happy to see it reprinted. Beast Within, another good uncommon here, and not as expensive as some. This one only runs you about $1.50 to $2, but it sees extensive Modern play, and this will be really good in limited as well. Saddleback Lagak, maybe one of the most fun cards to say. It's been a while since I got to say it. Saddleback Lagak. Back again, it's more of a limited card, but it's a good one. A lot of value here. As long as there's at least 2 other creatures in play between you and your partner for 4 mana, you're getting 5/3 power toughness on the battlefield here. Mycosynth Lattice. Another incredible Commander reprint here. Now this one is a mythic, but still, it's never been reprinted from Dark Steel. These things will run you $27. So yet another very welcome reprint. Mind's Eye, another fantastic reprint for Commander players here. Rare. A lot of value in this set when it comes to the reprints they chose. This one originally from Meriden, those cards will cost you $11, $12. It did get a reprint in Commander's Arsenal, and they used the same art from the Commander's Arsenal version as you see here. More recently, it was one of the inventions. Of course, those can be expensive. So another opportunity now to finally get this card. This set just does not disappoint when it comes to the reprints. All right, those are the cards for today. Now tomorrow, the full set will be revealed. I'm going to do something a little bit different because the preview season was so condensed. And I feel like if I start doing a set review, I'm just going to be saying the same things about these cards, especially considering they're not standard or modern legal. What I'll do instead of a regular set review is I'm going to cover each color like I normally do, but I'm only going to talk about the cards that we didn't talk about in the preview, so we'll just kind of catch the rest of the cards. We'll also do the Market Watch still on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.